Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel, and welcome to something that I haven't done before. And I've been meaning to do this for a while, but to be honest, every time I found one of these figures lying around, I couldn't find what I did with the other one. So it's no longer a hot button figure to talk about, though the Target reissue / minor repaint is out right now, so we can at least cover it in that regard. We have before you both the brand new Studio Series Gamer Edition Megatron, brand new, came out like beginning of the year or whatever, and we have the original Generations War for Cybertron Megatron. And the question is this: a long time ago, I asked if it is possible for a brand new toy to be better than the old toys, because once we start converting some other series that were already pretty good in their own right, you start hitting limitations like budget that the modern toys end up suffering from. So my curiosity was, with how much toys are budgeted these days, could an old toy actually be better than the replacement that should have better engineering and accuracy? So that is what we are discussing today, and this is a pretty good one to start on. So we will first acknowledge that the new Gamer Edition version is very much the more game accurate of the two. So this is based completely off of the model from the game, using the actual assets, and because this came so much later, Hasbro had all the time in the world to actually work on it and develop it. The colors are closer to how it looked in the game itself. Megatron did use a darker color palette. Everyone used a darker color palette. Cybertron had yet to invent the light bulb, apparently, because everything was super dark in those games. So the gunmetal is actually more correct. I wish it was consistent across the figure, though. We do have silver and gray in here mixing around. Accurate or not, sometimes it's just about what looks best, and I think a more consistent color tone across the entire toy might have been that way. And it's a result of, how Megatron's colors have to be placed. This is going to be one of his arms, so obviously it has to be the bright gray that we're used to. This is going to be his legs, so this has to be darker. Not black, but just darker gray. You got that big cow catcher in the front of all things. And we have the barrel of the cannon, jet black, completely painted, by the way, not molded black. And you have little details of coloring to indicate the energon lines going through, which is a signature of that particular series of designs. All in all, it's not bad. It's not bad. I think the biggest downside to him is the fact that he is on these hover treads. They're just very, very thin. There's no wheels to roll it or anything, so it's just kind of stuck doing its own thing. But, it's meant to hover and fly, so why would you need little wheels on it? Because kids are going to grab this thing and shove it against the table, and you need something to roll so it doesn't scratch everything up. That aside, it's not bad looking. Of course, it is more accurate to how he was in the game. But that said, I come from the world of Dungeons and Dragons, where rule of cool is a thing, and sometimes it's not about how accurate it is, sometimes it's just, does it look cooler? So, if I compare the two, and actually take a look, so obviously the cannon is very different. We'll get to that more in the robot mode discussion. You see a lot more red here at the top, which is not a thing on the original version. You see a very similar shape, though the older one is a little bit wider in profile, to the point where it starts getting difficult to tell if these are the same size figure or not. Robot mode is going to be very telling. I do like the purple lines on the newer one better than the old, because the old just kind of keeps it to translucent inlays, and that doesn't really pop as well as I would like it to. Also, I will admit, I would probably like it in the darker colors a little bit better. I used to have the dark side version of this one, the Japanese exclusive, and it's beautiful. It was beautiful. Like, I had to make some hard choices before that one made it to eBay. But overall, yeah. The coloring is probably like the downside where this one takes the advantage. The overall shape, though, I think I tend to like this one a little bit more. Because of that wider profile, it looks like a heavier tank to me. It looks like it could roll farther and just last in a battle longer. Maybe that is just me. I also kind of like the bigger spikes out the back. The cowcatcher is notably smaller, though the additional gun is a nice little touch there as well. But then you have the advantage. You have the major advantage, which is the fact that the hovering is optional. So here we do have wheels. We have wheels on the undersides, so kids can roll said vehicle around. We also have the ability to just fold them down and make the proper hover tank that he is in the game. So I love having the option, and you can't tell me you didn't have room to just make that an option in the new one. This was a deluxe, back when deluxes were like $12.99, $14.99. This is a $34.99 Voyager, and you're telling me you don't have the budget to give him that little tread trick just to give him the playability of the original version. The original version also had a missile firing gimmick, which very obviously this one does not. It has the 5mm port if you got a blast effect handy, which at the moment I don't. But also, to be fair, I also don't have the missile. So this one was donated to me. Thank you very much. But it did not have the missile attached to it anymore. So I'm kind of they're kind of on even pegging at that point. So yeah, I feel like this is very much a preferential thing. You know, whether or not the vehicle mode is better. I would say objectively, the original is better just because of the difference in the gimmickry. The fact that it has a firing missile and the fact that it can have optional normal treads and just be a normal looking tank, that's a cool little addition to have. But for me also, I just like the profile better than how the new one looks. So there is that. So I'm not going to focus too much on transformations because I find them mostly comparable. But I'll fast forward them for you so you can at least make sure they are in the video. So with both of them side by side, it kind of highlights what a lot of people had an issue with when the new version of this Megatron came out. Wow. Considering he's supposed to be a Voyager, he really isn't much bigger than the original one. In fact, if we start taking bulk and width into account, I'm not sure it is bigger than the original one. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, like, if I start comparing them, I will have to include accessories into that speculation, meaning they're going to come out a little bit even. This Megatron's going to be a little bit heavier thanks to his accessories, so I'll give him that. But as base figures go, this one's definitely more dense, and that's potentially because of, gimmickry that's involved with the toy. But yeah, it's a pretty stark comparison between the two. I mean, so I can take a close-up look at this Megatron here. You see the inlaid purple works a little bit better here. You have more of the purple inlay there for the pelvis. So you can see the energon a lot more clearly on this version of the figure. Does look overall nice. It has the right details of that Megatron. The forearms are a little bit improvised because they turn them into the tank treads. So you're not getting accuracy there, but I'm not going to lie, I kind of like the symmetrical red on the forearms and just leaving one arm to have all the additional red. That's kind of cool to me. Speaking of, we are aware that this is not an accurate canon. This is not the default canon Megatron has in said game. But we are going to be honest here. It looks way, way cooler. This looks like a broken pen. This looks like an actual fusion cannon. I'm just going to put that out there. I mean, I can take a look at this one too, before we start doing like proper comparisons. The Megatron, again, is going for more sculpt accuracy. The face is much flatter and prunier, but it's definitely more accurate to how he looked in the game. You can see more of that inlaid energon that's been painted in. I do like the sculpting that's gone into that as well. He's got a little bit of pelvis paint as well as on the knees. So they pretty much have the energon lines in the same spot. You do see the asymmetry going on with the forearms. You see that the little cow catcher, that is much bigger on this version, but otherwise they do manage to hit the same silhouette with it. Yeah, it's just a different take, you know? It's definitely more accurate, and the body's a lot bulkier. So this is where I start comparing the two again. Yeah, torso-wise, like, it's a much more preferential thing. The new one is definitely a bulkier torso than the original. I would still argue the original technically looks better, even if it's not accurate. Though I do like the chest details on the new one a little bit better. I like the sharper look to those 3 little boomerangs on his chest. I like that they're a little bit larger. You know, that's a nicer little detail. Leg shape. Here's where it gets me. So the legs basically look the same. You got much bigger feet on this guy. And if we're comparing articulation, I'm not even going to like, I'm not going to go into that nearly as much on this one, just to suffice to say the new one does definitely have more articulation. You know, at the very least, this one doesn't even have an ankle tilt to it. It just has big old flat stompers instead. Megatron, you know, look, free Megatron feet, everyone. No, but the big thing here is just the treads hanging off the side of the leg. I went back to make sure I transformed this guy correctly, and to figure out, like, why, like, because I don't remember it being this ugly. No, that's it. That's it. That's how it's supposed to go. This is really all it can do. So yeah. The new one definitely loses in the leg look, not the uglier legs. Color-wise is again a little bit up to your preference. Again, the one on the right, more accurate. The gunmetal colors, the 2 different shades of it, as a matter of fact, definitely more accurate, definitely look better if you're going for game accuracy. The Megatron on the left, a little bit more traditional Megatron, you know, black legs, you know, off-white body. So it's a whatever. I mean, I will go accuracy on this guy. I'll give him points for accuracy. One of the other things is they also paid attention to, like, the back details of a lot of these, because you see them from the back so often. I'm still going to say, I think the old one looks better. I think it just has cooler designs. More importantly, do you see the Decepticon symbol hidden in there? Looks a little bit Prime Soundwave, but it is there. So, cool little touches and details. We can also just kind of start comparing, you know, the modern traditional stuff of, like, hollowness. Whereas Megatron looks hollow in the back of his legs because that's where his thighs have to go for transformation. Megatron manages to fill his legs up quite a lot with his vehicle mode bulk, but you do get the hollowness in the lower back and behind on the arms. So, yeah, he's gonna show a little bit more than the original Megatron, if that is an important detail to you. Now, accessory-wise, this is where the new one definitely wins out, because you can pop the forearm off, just like you could a lot of the early versions of these War for Cybertron designs. Actually, all of them can do that, now that I think about it. But you can also then give him the mace weapon from said game. It is a huge, unwieldy mace, and if you do not have the joints for it, it can be a little bit precarious to pose. But yeah, it does give him a big advantage to have, like, a game-accurate weapon over the other Megatron, who basically just gets by on his fusion cannon and his missile-firing gimmick. That was the thing. It's like they had a primary weapon when the original toys came out, and then that was it. I will actually commend the modern Gamer Edition versions for thinking about how the weapons swapped around in those games. and gave you the potential to have a little bit of, accuracy to that. So it's a very simple gimmick to employ with a forearm that's removable and like the different weapons everybody comes with. But it is a really good thought, and it's definitely a leg up on the original toy. So, what's our final conclusion here? Honestly, I mean, I'm trying to be as objective as possible, but they are very even, aren't they? So, like I said, the X factor here is posability. The original one is fine, though, yeah, it's definitely stuck. There's no waist articulation, no wheel, only a slight angle tilt. It's not really enough to help too much. And, awkward shoulder, whereas the new one's got full waist, new one has double jointed elbows, new one has lots of range to which to destroy Autobots with, angle tilt as well. But you can see they still hit cool poses nevertheless. Maybe we've gone too far on articulation. Maybe it's fine. Maybe we don't need to have so much going on. But yeah, in general, they are pretty much on par with each other. It really does just depend on what your personal preferences are. We will, however, point out, this is the toy with the very infamous flaw to it, where the knees could not bend because of an extra tab that was added to them for some reason. So you had to neuter them off, like I have done. So that knocks it down. That knocks it down some major points there. I would at least expect my action figure to be able to bend knees in this year of 2025. But again, there's a lot you could say for personal preferences. If I'm going for game accuracy and articulation, obviously the one on the right. If I just want a toy that looks cool and does cool things, I'm looking at the one on the left. Because while the forearm swapping is neat, I think the alternate tank mode and the firing missile is a little bit neater. I think I like that a little bit better. And mostly because, yes, it's clever that they included it, but it also makes it very easy to lose your arm. And you really don't want to lose that, because then you're out like a good chunk of your toy. So, yeah, for me, my personal preference leans toward the original. I do think I like it better as a toy. I have more fun with it. It feels better in hand. But the right one does have its advantages as well, especially if you're a stickler for accuracy. So let me know in the comment section below which one you ended up liking better. If you actually have experienced both of these toys, which was the better for you? So I'm not going to leave a poll or anything. I'm not going to leave a poll. We're just going to let you guys just free roam in the comments section and discuss it. But that's going to be it for me today. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.